Hi. So I've been talking about a bit of a trip to see a UK brand for the last few weeks. Well, this is the one. This is the video. It's a brilliant example of how to run your business, I've got to say. And also, if you keep watching, there's a bit of a world exclusive. Okay, hope you enjoy the video. Right, I've just done a bit of a trip up to Leeds to see some guys at Carbon Wasp. And that's the mystery. That's where I've been looking to go, and I've been talking about the last few weeks. So I'm here. So this is Adrian. All right, Adrian.
Good morning.
So we're going to have a little chat about things. So I guess the first question is, have I never heard of Carbon Wasp?
Well, probably because the marketing department's been pretty lax.
Yeah. So what's?
So we've been going quite a few years.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of years actually. But yeah, we've just not done much promotion.
Yeah.
Mainly because we haven't had that much capacity. So we've been selling what we can make.
Yeah.
So we don't want to get too much interest, and sometimes we struggle to make what we sell. So there's no point. But we're now at the point where we kind of refined the process, invested in tooling, things like that, so we can go do things a bit quicker.
So how have you managed to stay small? Because that's the obvious thing, because that's the temptation for everybody. I've done it, I've been there. You know, and you think, oh yeah, well, you can't turn stuff away, you know, that's the trouble.
Yeah.
But if you can manage to turn stuff away, I guess.
Yeah, we in the early years went down a lot of dead ends with, like you said, people come. So I started off making metal bikes, and then it became prohibitively expensive, you know, getting sort of one-off bits machined and things like that. Yeah. And then I got into carbon fibre and 3D printing. Right. So carbon fibre is actually a very crude and kind of basic way of making things at a lower level. Yeah. Anyone can do it. I did it in a spare bedroom in a flat in the central Leeds. The expensive bit, or the tricky bit, is getting the tooling, the moulds. Yes. So carbon fibre is easy to form in any shape, but you need something to give it the shape. That's where 3D printing came in for me. So again, the cost of getting moulds machined and things like that would have...
Yeah, I sort of had a little bit of experience of that when I dabbled. Yeah, right. I thought about getting frames made in carbon, and they gave me a price for a mould, and I thought, oh, no. You know, per size.
Bought a yacht instead, So 3D printing came in at about the right time. So this was 10, 15 years ago when the patents expired on the basic extrusion-based 3D printers. Right. So there was this big explosion. You probably remember it. But everyone was expecting to have a 3D printer in every home. You know, we were all going to be printing everything. So I got interested in that, and then that sort of allowed me to access the sort of composite side because of had a means of making the tooling. So we started off making carbon parts with 3D printed plastic tools, which has its limitations but does allow you to have a go. So I got into it that way, basically, as a means of making stuff I wanted to make in a fairly low cost way. And then that kind of grew into, you know, people know what you're doing and they ask you to make bits or whatever, and then alongside doing that, working with carbon fibre opens up repairs, which is quite a fairly significant thing we've always done. But we only tend to do it for kind of local riders rather than advertise it as a thing, because that's part of it. If you're working with composites, you know, repairing stuff is
goes hand in hand.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a good thing to keep bikes on the road, isn't it? So then kind of, we've never advertised repairs. That's just kind of sort of word of mouth, and now like local shops and clubs.
So we better not mention it.
No. We repair anything as long as it's bike related, and as long as you can get it here and pick it up. That's the reason we don't do it, is because doing it mail order is just a whole level of faff. You know, boxes coming in.
Tell me.
I mean, and we don't do motorsport.
No.
Always getting asked. So yeah, that's how it started for me. I was making bikes and doing bits, and then people started to ask about other bits and and then it kind of grew into a business rather than. And this is probably to answer your question in the most long-winded way. I never set out for it to be a business and take over the world. I set it out to make bikes and have a go, and it grew into a business. And so we've never been driven with that sort of ambition of going global.
Has this been your only business? You haven't had a business before, and then
I set up a business years ago with a friend of mine making metal bikes, and then it was actually out of that, and that was maybe 25 years ago. Long time, like straight out of university, and that was just when we got aluminium frames welded up locally in Sheffield, and it was just when everything went kind of hydroform, swoopy, and those bikes looked great compared to what was before, and we just couldn't compete. We were at the point where we were making and selling a few bikes.
So what was your bike brand? It
was Edge Bikes.
Okay.
We were really small scale, but the bikes were good. They rode well, but cosmetically, they at that point they quickly became old fashioned. And the investment, talking about investment in tooling and things like that. Talking about hydroform, we would buy tube sets off the shelf from Easton and get them welded up, and no one would sell us some nice swoopy shaped tubes, so we were just kind of a bit dead in the water.
And funnily enough, we just had a little bit of a chat before we put the camera on, but we may have ridden in the same place or bumped into each other years ago, maybe at a race, or
well, you used to sponsor a racing team, didn't you? I rode with some of the people, or I rode the races you sponsored down like Forest of Dean.
Because of the year 2000 races.
That was it. That's what I did. They had a really good winter series.
Jerry McGar.
Yeah,
he still rides. But
every time I go on a winter ride now, I think back to his races. However, cold and miserable and unpleasant it is on a ride, I think we used to race in this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I remember being freezing cold.
Yeah.
You don't care, do you, when you're?
No. Once you're out and about. It's just getting out the door. It's getting out of a warm car if you travelled miles to get into rain or whatever.
There's some great courses down there, isn't there? Like Chepstow and all around there. Amazing. I'd love to go back and try and find some of those routes.
A lot of it's been developed a lot because there's a lot of downhill tracks there now. So a lot of the tracks you would have ridden are now probably an extreme downhill track. For that area. I mean, there's nothing as big as out this way because the hills just aren't long enough, but there is a myriad of trails. I was quite curious when I saw on your website that you do custom. I was thinking that must be expensive if you're going to do, because I've had this in my mind. I always thought you see like Hope's machined molds and you think one of those for every custom, surely not. But obviously I looked on I watched a video of yours which you did with Guy Kesterman, and it was the 3D printing, and I sort of think, wow, that makes it a little bit more.
So it's still not. We've got some like modular molds for front triangles and things downstairs. Let's get a better bike in the. You've got to edit all this and make it interesting, haven't you?
I'll cut most of it out and just put me talking in it.
That's what people want to see, isn't it? We were talking about cranks, weren't we?
Yeah, we're just touching on cranks. Obviously, I was just saying, we've been chattering away and forgot to turn the camera on. But cranks. This is really intriguing. I saw these. Yeah, come on, let's have a look.
So these are 3D printed titanium cranks for the Pinion gearbox.
Wow.
So that's the magnet for the Smart Shift system.
Wow.
So plan is do them exclusively for the Pinion to sort of prove concept and get a bit of throughput. So we subcontract this at the moment, and then we've got some standard cranks that are pretty much ready to go eventually, and then my hope is that we'll get to a volume of sales, and the technology will come down to a point that's accessible where we can do it, bring it in-house.
Because one of the biggest problems with It's Pinion is you can't get short cranks.
Oh, yeah, cheers. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think they're better now, aren't they? You can do.
Are they doing shorter ones now?
They do a CNC version and another version. They do more options, I think. But yeah, it's still. Yeah. But the fat bike they don't. No. I think fat bike's only 175, isn't it?
Yeah, which is the problem.
Which is a bit daft. Yeah, so we're at the point where one of the advantages of 3D printing the cranks is that you can customise length, Q factor. We've just done a set for the new Surly fat bike. It's just got an extra.
Oh
wide.
Yeah.
So it's got its own cranks.
Yeah.
And spider. So ideally, we'd be able to do custom stuff, but not doing it here makes it a real faff. So again, it goes back to what we were just saying about maybe trying to customise something. So we're looking at doing a sort of set Q factors, and then we've got a kind of dummy long crank that we can drill and cut down here.
Oh, I see.
So we can do the custom stuff here, but otherwise we can order standard sizes. But yeah, I mean, ideally we'd have a machine and we can just do what we want. But so this is the extent of our printing.
Yeah,
it's just a standard cheap plastic machine, but they're so good these days.
Yeah, I've never got into it. A friend of mine's got one just for doing a little toy thing. But
I mean, that's all that is.
Yeah.
It almost comes out of a Christmas cracker. It's like
really.
It's so sort of cheap and accessible.
And what materials will that print? Is that purely plastic?
Yeah, only plastic. Yeah. But it's not good for any kind of functional parts, but it's great for
prototyping, I suppose.
This is a project we had on for a local shop. The saddle solution was terrible, so we've done one in the past where we made a little carbon thing. It sort of had this awkward aluminium thing that kind of bolts on, and then the saddle goes, and there's a grub screw that digs into the carbon. It's not a great thing. This is 3D printed aluminium that we got done, but somewhere over there. So this was our kind of design iteration, so you can see we've just very quickly, in the space of some hours, you can have an idea, print a part, test it, iterate the design that way, and then so we got that to the point here with the plastic, got it to the point where we had a final design, and then sent that out to be made properly. So those printers are great, and like jigs, stuff like that. It's really good we've got a CNC machine upstairs, but you need fixtures to hold bits in, like particularly odd shaped things like frames or parts. If you need to clamp it in, you can just make a little jig that fits. So,
Sure.
Yeah, this is our standard Pinion hardtail.
Right.
So we were talking about customization. There are we've got 4 sizes of frame. But then, so bits like the dropouts we just make from a flat plate upstairs. Right, so we can completely customise this area. We need to be able to split the frame to get the belt on. Yes. But you don't have to. If you want to run a normal chain, you don't need that. But by making the stays stop where they do, and then making this part, you can customise it. So we can basically move rear wheel position. You can lengthen and shorten the stays to fit what you need. And then obviously moving the back wheel gives you some ability to tweak geometry a little bit. We've got this is a tapered headset that's but we can make a big hole at the top because it's a straight tube, so we can do 56, which means you can run an angle set. So again, this is sort of 65 degree head angle as standard, which is sort of in the middle of what you might want. So the Pinion is good for, a lot of people like it for kind of touring stuff, don't they? Yes. And you tend to perhaps want something a bit steeper there. So if you've got 65, you could, with a rigid fork, a shorter rigid fork would steepen it up anyway. So, but it gives you some scope to do that. But then likewise, if it's a pure kind of like a classic British winter hardtail, you might want it a bit slacker than 65. I'm a massive fan of the Pinion, but not for every application. I think for hardtail, like a winter hardtail, and anything that's kind of gravity focused. So it makes total sense on a downhill bike.
Yeah.
Because you've got the advantage, you're moving all the weight low and central. Yeah. Those guys putting lead tube or lead cladding on the bottom bracket anyway, aren't they? Moving the weight low, so you get that benefit. Yeah. Focus. So that green thing there is a, I suppose you'd call it like an enduro bike.
Okay.
That we had built up. So that takes a gearbox.
Oh right, yeah.
Which was great, especially with the Smart Shift system.
Oh, of course,
so we've got a new system with
electric
on this one with the electric shifting and automatic gear selection.
Yeah.
So that's why it's got the magnet in the crank. It's got a wheel sensor and a magnet on the rear hub. So it knows what speed you're going. There's an app and you tell it a sort of target cadence. And it works out, and basically you never change gear going downhill again. No. You can do, and you can override it, But it's so good for that sort of downhill application because you come in that time when you're sort of coming down a hill and then you go sharp turn straight back up. You're never in the wrong gear. It always it's constantly changing for you. So
I remember the bike I had the manual one. And that was a massive advantage. You'd be in a bunch of riders, and then something would happen at the bottom of a hill. Gully, and they'd all be going trying to get in their gears, and we just go and ride off.
So I think it's got its advantages. But it does have its drawbacks.
So are you mainly pinion then with your frames?
Only with the hardtails.
All right, gotcha.
Yeah. So we do this as a standard hardtail, and then we do a fatbike version as well.
Right. Yeah.
And then on the full sus side, it's all conventional. So we've got a fatbike here. I can show you, which is the same thing.
So this is how I found out about Carbon Wasp. Somebody sent me a picture of this bike, so I'll be curious. Beast.
So it's basically the same as that.
Okay.
Or very similar.
Same geo.
Yeah. So I suppose you'd say it's fairly progressive, fairly kind of modern. Yeah. And there's scope to tweak it again, but not so much. So I don't know if. No.
I mean, there's not many people doing it because everyone assumes they're just snow bikes. But there's a few people around that've got the slack ones.
Right.
That we've done, but never seen one in carbon, which has really intrigued me.
Yeah, well, that's how this sort of came about, really. We
So is this for somebody?
Yeah. This is a guy who's based in the Midlands. I need to get it back to him. I hope to send it out this week. But it's just part of making the hardtails was do a fatbike version because we're low volume. Yeah. Kind of why not? We're not at the point where we'd have to sell thousands of something to make it worth doing it. So
sure.
And there just doesn't seem to be many options for people. Some people want a carbon fibre pinion fat bike. Yeah. And there's not many options. No. So this is an option.
Love it.
But this is more our sort of standard thing, which is a 120 Truffle.
Yeah, that is lovely.
So we're hoping to get the word out over the next few weeks and months. We've got some out with magazines at the moment.
Oh, you have? I was going to say, has anyone got it yet?
Yeah. So hopefully that'll start to come through. And then we'll go from there. But again, we've got the same idea with the customization. So it's four different sizes of frame, which is fairly fixed. We can do it with or without the internal storage, but my view is why wouldn't you? Yeah. Because it's amazing.
It's a big plus,
But so this little link here, this is what I was talking about. We just make that upstairs out of a flat plate, so we can tweak shock position and things like that. Yeah. So that lets you change shock stroke and things like that. Again, kind of don't want to do that because the reason there's not a flip chip is that we sort of think we've worked quite hard
to get it right.
To get this how we think it is the best.
Yeah.
But we had a guy in Austria bought a frame and he had a shock, but it was a slightly longer stroke. So we sort of said, well, can I just use it with this shock? And so we just, you know, tweaked it a little bit, and it came out at like 125mm travel or something.
Right.
But it fit, and it fit in a way that still worked, rather than just extending the rear wheel lower, which steepens everything, raises it. Yeah, exactly. So,
so have you got a price for frame sets now? Set yet?
Yes. So it's $2,950 with the Cane Creek shock.
Okay.
We're just doing frame only at the moment, or frame and shock.
Yeah.
We can do full builds if people want.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'd need.
I know.
A whole other.
Yeah. Another department.
Yeah. So I think we'll have to do that eventually.
Yeah.
But right now we're selling the bit we make, which is the frame. So that's the 120, and then behind it we've got a 150. So this is a 150. We've got a 140 version of it. Right. This is a mullet setup.
Gotcha. Oh yeah.
And then this has just got a different shock position for 29. So it's a pretty easy switch.
Oh yeah.
You can just put the 29 wheel in, move the shock, and it just changes the position to keep the geometry the same.
Yeah.
So that's going to be this Truffle 120 is available now.
Right.
And we're making those. This is a compound 150, which we are in the process of launching. When's this going to be? It might
Sunday.
Might be out. Oh, maybe not. You've probably got a world exclusive.
World exclusive.
So this is probably more the kind of bike people might want to buy, isn't it? I think it's going to be more popular. Yeah. But to be honest, I think most people would be better off with the 120.
Yeah, I know it's what.
But, I don't know, the 150.
You can't tell people what to buy, but I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
You know.
This is such a useful bike, though. I would say.
Capable.
You can ride up and down anything on that bike, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas the 120 for me, it feels much more like rideable. It's so like it's light, and you don't have so much travel. It's really like pedalable.
Yeah.
You can really sort of zip up stuff, and then it's nice and sort of long and slack, and the Sid forks are so kind of capable, aren't they now? Yeah.
And obviously cross country's gone that way now.
Yeah, exactly.
The World Cup. That's a World Cup travel.
Well, we're hoping to get someone racing on that frame.
Yeah.
This year.
So I imagine you could build that pretty light if you wanted to. Yeah,
that's it. But that's what we were saying before. It's about you can build something as light or heavy as you want in a lot of ways.
And frame prices are same.
Same price. Yeah.
Across the board.
Same options in terms of tweaking bits.
Now I'm going to ask an obvious question now. You're going to do a fat full suspension bike?
We haven't got any plans to so that's the range.
Excellent.
And then we've got...
and it's just you and...
Yeah, and then I employ a guy. I mean, he does all the work and I take all the credit.
Right.
But he's off this week. So. We've got a gravel bike coming, which again, talking about printing, we've got some bits over here.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's something that you've got to consider now.
These are the bits.
It's a massive market.
Again, it's easy to design stuff, isn't it? But then you just want to check front mech's in the right place, check your clearance on your thing. Just print a little model. Yeah. That's the down tube. So what can you get in the storage? It's just you just knock that out in the morning.
Yeah. I've forgotten that word, front mech. So long since I've only worked on one, I've forgotten how to do it.
Same with the brakes, like they're in the right position, and clearance on your caliper, things
like
that.
It's so good, isn't it? Yeah, it's 3D printing. It really has
rough and ready
changed things, hasn't it?
Standard.
For you can draw stuff up. You can never ever.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to physically draw something life size on a board. The old school. Because my dad was a technical illustrator.
Right.
For in the aircraft industry, so I had all this stuff, and I used to sit there. I've got a picture of me somewhere drawing some of that. I still got the drawings, very crude. Yeah. But then I used to physically put a wheel up there and see where the travel would go and all this, and that was sort of the closest I got to prototyping. But
Well, CAD is the computer version of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
So we like model everything in 3D, and you can move stuff, but it's just never.
Yeah.
It's never the same as just having a thing, and printing just gets you the thing quickly, so you can make a decision, or choose one thing over another, or whatever else. So, or check. It's useful for just checking, so it's you do all your sums and everything else.
Yeah,
looks good on your 3D model, but you just want to put two things together and make sure they there's clearance or there's not, or whatever. So
yeah. You're not making forks yet?
No, but we're going to.
You are?
Yeah, but we're not yet. I don't know, well, it might be well for we do fatbike forks.
Yeah.
Just because...
So what's involved? Is it a lot involved in a fork?
No, it's just an extra mould.
Yeah.
So...
Calculating the stresses over the braking and all the rest of it. There's a lot of stress goes through a fork. Some of them are quite scary to look down on.
Oh, are they?
When you're braking.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, the issue for us is getting the moulds made, or making the moulds, and then which is, we don't have to sell loads to make it worthwhile, but we probably have to sell more than one.
Yeah.
Fatbike forks are not high on the list yet, but we'll probably do gravel fork first.
Yeah, I mean, bike packing for me that's my interest has gone. And that does seem to be gravel, bike packing sort of goes together, and it's gone into cross country mountain bikes now.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a way of riding old mountain bikes from the 90s, isn't it? And giving it a new name.
But you watch the evolution of the gravel bike or the bike packing bike. They're turning into cross country mountain bikes. It's fast.
It's kind of split, hasn't it? Yeah.
Obviously, depending where you're on the country, I guess. If you've got lovely gravel, then drop bar gravel bikes, beautiful.
Yeah, there's not much of that around here.
No.
I quite like. I made a cross bike a few years back and found it was great to ride it in the local woods, which are kind of full on mountain bike is kind of overkill, and especially when you know the trails. So a cross bike back then was like a 90s mountain bike, like no grip, no brakes.
Yeah,
makes it really interesting. So on trails that it's just great for going out for an hour or something. And that's kind of what we're going to do with the gravel version. We're going to do a Pinion version of the gravel bike as well.
Wow.
Which one we're going to do first, actually? What we're doing now. So we're probably
going to... I don't think anyone's done that, have they?
Yeah, there's a few. I don't know if there's a carbon one. I've not seen any carbon.
No.
Version,
I've seen bike packing bikes, obviously, but
yeah. So we're hoping to cut some moulds for that this week.
Right.
And then
talking moulds, you were mentioning about 3D printing moulds.
Yeah. So when we started, that's how it was. So that would be on a machine. I made a bigger machine because obviously for a frame-sized tooling you need bigger capacity than that, and so I made a big machine to do that, and then we would print the moulds in polycarbonate, which is plastic still, but higher temperature and stronger, tougher, but it's still not great. And then the finish you get isn't great, so you have to, there's a lot of finishing by hand. So then a real game changer was getting a CNC machine, which we've got a pretty basic machine upstairs, which cuts tooling block like an epoxy board. Which is this blue stuff. Yeah. So we cut these moulds here upstairs, which is great for this is the down tube protector. This is one on the fatbike there. Yeah. Down there. So this piece we mould in here, and then we do different sizes because obviously this is a bit that changes shape. Yes. Through the 4 different frame sizes. Then we trim it upstairs. So I see. Cut it out at different lengths. Yeah. But this was that's not quite come off the machine like that, but it's doesn't take much effort to get it like a pretty nice finish. Yeah. So obviously the finish on the mould is the finish you get on the carbon. Yeah. Our sort of process now is CAD design, 3D modelling through that. Printing some parts like we've seen to check fit and cosmetics as well. Does a tube look how you want it to look, and and you can you don't have to print a full size frame. You can do it 5th size or something, and just get an idea of how something looks in reality. And And then when we've finalised the design, we can go through, you can quickly iterate that, and then we cut tooling block moulds here, and then you can fairly quickly have a functioning prototype. And then we can usually get at least a handful of parts out of a tooling block mould. It depends on the shape, so like a nice open shape like that, that'll last almost indefinitely, that mould. So it works well for stuff like this.
Yeah.
For more complicated shapes, we've got some stays here where it's like a closed part like that.
Yeah.
The epoxy resin is quite aggressive, and this stuff is quite brittle. So after a number of goes, so on like a front triangle,
yeah,
I reckon you could reliably get a handful of frames.
Right.
But you're pushing it if you want to get more than a dozen.
So are they all cured here?
Yeah, and then we cure if we lay everything up here and
right.
cure it.
Yeah.
So for like a first batch of parts, the tooling block's good, and then once you know something's going to work, you can commit to metal moulds, which is now what we use. So these frames that we've looked at all come from metal moulds that we got made in, and they're all here. So this is a kind of modular system where we get. There you go. So this is the 150.
Right.
And without.
I do love a bit of signature.
Yeah,
it's lovely, isn't
it? So these all sort of fit together with different parts and whatever else. So so we clamp these up.
Oh, I see.
There's a bit of a world exclusive for you. But you see, you can see how it goes together to make a frame. So we make the parts in a single piece.
Right. I see.
But having the modular.
Yeah, because normally I'm used to seeing one big piece.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And that's what you do if you.
I suppose mass production.
If you commit to, well, it's just a numbers game, isn't it?
Yeah.
The cost of that tool versus how many bits you're going to get out of it. So we didn't have the option. If you're looking at, we've got a range here, 4 different frames, each in 4 different sizes. So 16 of those moulds as a 2-part as a set. It's just that's not feasible for us. No. So this was a good way. Now what we'll probably do then is we'll start to, as we start to sell more frames, I think probably the 150 is going to be the one we sell most of. So we'll probably get a set of the large 150 made as a single piece. Yeah. And then as we sell more, we'll maybe get a large and the 120 made. And then I'm not sure we'll ever get to the volumes on the Pinion hardtails just because it's quite a niche, isn't it? So I don't know if we'll ever do that, but perhaps on the gravel bike we will.
Good way.
So that's, again, it's all about volume, isn't it? Which is what you probably know all about.
It's funny because we were talking upstairs about how do you stay small.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like you're going to.
Well, I think we will. I mean, it depends. It's a relative idea, isn't it? But if we sell 50 frames, that's good. That would be really good. Yeah. And that's tiny, isn't it? That's nothing. Yeah. I mean, we've probably got capacity fairly easily to do, twice that or 3 times maybe.
Yeah. And the beauty of the market is you're in a market where people are prepared to wait. Because they're buying something a bit special. Yeah. So I found that, with what I'm doing, people are quite prepared to wait. Right. It's not something you just buy off the shelf. So. No,
it's a big thing, isn't it? But we're aiming to supply from stock eventually. So hopefully by perhaps by summer we'll start sort of knocking them out, and then but we'll see. I think the main issue for us is to not take on any kind of debt or take any real risks. Yep. So if that means that we don't progress very fast, then so be it.
Yeah.
I think our goal, is to just still be here.
Yeah.
Doing it.
Mm. Yep, you got the idea.
So, yeah.
From my experience, you got it spot on. Yeah. Never borrow money, never get partners, never, just do it yourself, self-fund it, let it grow organically.
Yeah, that's it.
For me, that's
it? Yeah. And there's a couple of reasons for it, isn't there? Obviously, low risk because you're not.
Yeah, because everything fluctuates. Look what's happening in the world now. You just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So,
exactly. Yeah,
it's nice to be flexible and
and then
not have to worry.
We can do what we want as well in terms of flexibility of.
And you enjoy it.
Yeah, yes.
You can sleep at night.
But it gives you flexibility in terms of deciding what we want to do, because we don't answer to anybody but ourselves. So if we want to do a fat bike, we can do it. We don't have to justify it to
the board of directors.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's that's what it's about for us, really. Which is a bit boring, isn't it? But
that's good. It's a lesson for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You watch the likes of Dragon's Den, and I want investors of this, and I want to be global, and you think, why don't you just stay? You've developed something. It's really good. It's making you good money. Just stay there. Don't be so greedy. Yeah. But it's it's in us, isn't it? To more. We want more.
It is. Yeah.
Especially when you're young and you want to be a millionaire tomorrow.
I mean, look at the problems in the bike industry, and it's outside influence and greed.
The bigger you are, the farther you fall. It's just the same old story. I like the.
Yes.
I read something about it. What were they made for?
Aero bars. So that's our big thing at the moment.
Right.
That's probably why you haven't heard of us, because you're not into time trialing or track racing.
No. Right.
It's a bit of a convoluted story, but we used to make custom aero bars. So these extensions here.
I see. Yeah. I've got a pair of aero bars actually.
Yeah, right.
But more just for bike packing.
So we used to do custom ones, and then quite quickly, they're straight out of the mould, so they're a bit rough. And,
right.
But you get the idea.
Yeah.
We came up with an idea of a standard version that can be adjustable. So there's loads of adjustment in those. They fit on some metal bits where you adjust the angle, and then the bolt-in locations give you a reach.
Yeah.
There's an armrest goes on here. You can put your shifting blip box thing in there. There's a junction box, and then you get shifters on the end.
Yeah.
They've been pretty good, and because they're quite a specialist bit of kit, we have to charge a lot of money to make them because of everything we do, the way we do it. But the market is willing to pay that.
I was going. There's money in that market, isn't there?
So that's been our big sort of thing in terms of standardisation. It was the air bars, and these are the moulds actually. So I'll try and make a set later on, because we're coming into aero bar season.
Right.
Which is run into this. We've got two peaks. Is the pre-season and early season, which is kind of now, and then we have another little surge in sort of May, which is when we get emails from people saying, I got beat on Sunday by someone riding your bars. I want to buy a set. So that's our two, and then it kind of dies down over summer, and then it's been quiet through winter, but it starts to ramp up. So, but they're good. They're interesting. I mean, I used to do time trialing a long time ago, but I can't say that we're like active in that scene now. But it's interesting. I like the kit because it's entirely performance driven.
Well, you're an engineer, aren't you?
Yeah.
So
and it's a very measurable area, so you can do
the slightest thing.
It's about aerodynamics, which you can test and quantify quite easily, whereas mountain biking is very fashion led,
agricultural.
Yeah.
It's probably the word, you think.
But we're talking about there are lots of fads, aren't there? Which it's frustrating sometimes.
Fashion.
Because it's difficult to sort of justify or quantify things, isn't it? And people buy certain things, and
full well
no reason for it, or there's an illogical reason, whatever. The time trial guys, almost most of them don't care about any of that, cosmetics, anything like that. It's pure
function,
performance, which is it makes it interesting. Because and it also means, as a small company, if you can come up with something that's genuinely good, you can demonstrate it's good, and people can test it for themselves.
Satisfying, isn't it?
And you can, but it also means you can sell it, because you don't need to have the global marketing machine to persuade people. You can
sells itself.
You can show them with numbers and things. So that's probably why we've been doing quite well with the bars, because they could sort of speak to themselves. So we need some of that on mountain bikes. One of them.
Right.
So that's a surface layer that we use, which is it's a 200 gram per square meter woven fabric. You can see it's 2x2 the way it's woven, and that is impregnated with a temperature activated resin. So you can see it room temperature. I mean, this is on a cold day.
Tacky, isn't it?
It's if you warm it up in your hand, it gets tacky. So that's when you can form it into any shape you want, and then it goes through a cure cycle at elevated temperature. So that we cure at about 100, 120 degrees, depending on what we're doing. And once it's been through that, you sort of slowly bring it up to temperature under pressure, and then it goes through the cure cycle. And it goes solid, and then it's fixed.
So how do you determine the layup, layers and things like that?
That is,
it's all on computer.
Yeah, mainly just experience and trial and error. So once you've got the tool for something, so if we've got an aero, this for our aero bars, you can just make parts out of that repeatedly, and then you can test them, and you can easily and quite quickly tweak the layout. But from experience, a pretty good starting point. Right. I mean, the aero bars are a bad example because they're massively overbuilt, because they don't weigh they're a small part, they don't weigh very much, and in some areas of that we put in way more material just to get a bit of thickness for clamping areas and things. So they're overbuilt, but
things like bike frames, I guess, head tubes and bottom brackets. Yeah,
exactly. You know where you need the material, and then you make a thing and you weigh it, and you want to come down in weight, where you think, where can you take out what you do, and then over time you can you get an idea for what you want. And so I've made downhill frames and things like that we've ridden, and sometimes they break, so probably should have more in, or often they don't, so you kind of think, well, that's a pretty safe layup to use as a start point. So you think, right, we need a mid-travel suspension bike, well, let's go back to what we did on that frame and think about that, and then
I think it's pretty much the same for everything, though. No matter how much you spend on CAD and all the rest of it. At the end of the day, you build something and you test it till destruction, and then you alter it, no matter what it is, Formula 1 to whatever. So same sort of process, I guess.
I mean, you can. So on the cranks we did some finite element analysis. They're a bit simpler because it's a small part. And you can, in terms of the load casing, you can do maybe 2 or 3 specific situations, can't you? I think a mountain bike frame is really hard to do that, because there's so much going on, isn't there? There's loading in different areas at different times. So I think it's much more complicated, but you can do it. But again, the outcome, the numbers you get out are only worth the numbers you put in, so it's reliant on the modelling being right in the first place, which I'm not convinced. It was definitely not easy to do that. So
it's tricky, isn't it? Because you've got so many things to cope with: the rider weight, what conditions it's going to be ridden in, how it's going to be built at the end of the day, what parts are going to be fitted. So it's a lot of things to.
So I think, certainly on frames and things, I think just making it and testing them is the best way. But the benefit
Did you say they're overbuilt?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Most things are overbuilt, just to be.
Our stuff is. Yeah.
I've always found. Yeah, I've done. Oh, would you like it double butted here? And no, no, I don't want any. I've had no breakages. Right. You know, and I think you're better off. Everyone can cut not cut corners, but you can get it down to a fine. And then, then all of a sudden everything's snapping. Yeah. So it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, we do repairs and.
Yeah, you'll see it all.
95% of the repairs are road bikes, and it's if you make a 700 gram road frame, then it's gonna snap at some point, which is fine.
It's got a life, hasn't it?
It's really good at doing what it does, and when it does break, you can fix it. Yeah. But for most people, that's just not kind of practical. No. So yeah, our stuff is generally overbuilt.
Right, that's a wrap. Good. Really glad to see you.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
Thanks for showing me around.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And hope to get the video out Sunday. Yeah, hopefully.
Right.
So a few exclusives by the sound of it.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, good stuff. Thanks a lot. Cheers, Adrian. So there we go. What a brilliant, really nice chap, Adrian. Well pleased I came up to see him. Lots of exciting things going to happen, I think. Yeah. Anyway, time to head back home, which is up in Leeds now, so it's a bit of a drive, 4-hour drive, but it's worth it. It was absolutely worth it. I've left a couple of rims with him as well to fix, so he's going to do those in the next couple of weeks, and I'll go on and get this video edited. Right, I will catch you in a bit. Thanks for watching.